so here are a couple of the tests that probably your physiotherapist or doctor might do on your hip to see if you have an impingement. Now, don't panic, don't self-diagnose. You can have an impingement and it doesn't mean you need surgery. So there are lots of reasons you could be getting an impingement on one side or the other. Your capsule might be tight. A manual therapist can help resolve that. Your pelvis might be out of alignment. A physical therapist can help you with that. The ball might just be sitting funny in the socket. Again, physical therapists can help with that. So I'm not trying to teach you so so that you can go and do this on yourself and self-diagnose. I just want to sort of you to understand the mechanisms that the position that your doctor or your physical therapist might put you in, the positions where you're likely to get impinged, and then you'll be like, wow, that's a lot like what I have to do as a goalie. So the first one is called the FADIR test. So it just stands for flexion, which is this action. So again, imagine that you're in your butterfly and you're recovering a skate. That's hip flexion. Adduction, so bringing your thigh towards the midline. So again, okay, now I'm going to push in a half butterfly. And internal rotation. So when they do that compound motion, Michael, how's that feel?
Feels good.
Feels okay.
Yeah.
So if he had some impingement, and again, for whatever reason, because of a bony abnormality or any of the other reasons that we talked about, he would probably have some pain in the front of his hip or into his groin. So again, it doesn't mean, oh, okay, well, get the scalpel, we're gonna do surgery. It means, okay, well, something is pinching in the hip and we need to figure out what it is. Another test they might do is called the Faber test. So then it's a little bit the opposite. So we go flexion, abduction, and external rotation. And we just kind of look at, okay, how high is this off the table? And then we'll bring that down, and bring up the other side, and we'll just do a little side-to-side comparison. I think this side sits a little bit lower, but he's not having any pain when we do that. So if this side was hung up a little more, it didn't drop as far. If he was having pain with this, then we'd be a little suspicious too. Like, okay, yeah, something's giving your hip a pinch. Let's figure out what that is. I'm going to also show you one little self-evaluation you can do that, again, it doesn't mean you need surgery. It doesn't mean you have FAI. It just means, hey, something is blocking in my hip, and I better figure that out and see if, number one, I can get it fixed, or number two, if I need to find a way to work around it so I'm not constantly just jamming my hip into a position it doesn't want to go into and causing those bony calluses to develop. So this is a little self-evaluation you can do just to see if there's some kind of impingement or pinching in your hips. It doesn't mean you need surgery. It doesn't mean you're injured. It just means, hey, something's going on that my hips can't move as freely as they should, and then you should get that checked out. My personal preference, I always go to a physical therapist when I need something checked out because they have the manual assessment skills. Ideally, you'll have a good sport physical therapist you can go to. But if you have an amazing sport medicine doctor or sport chiropractor who really has good assessment skills and can do manual therapy, then that's great too. Most cases, your family doctor won't have the assessment skills. They'll say, take a couple weeks off, maybe take these anti-inflammatories, and it should feel better. And almost anything feels better if you just rest it anyway. So that's sort of my 2 cents worth. But I don't want you to panic if you sort of have some of these positive signs. So we're going to take a hands and knees position, keeping a neutral back. So this is important. This will be in a straight line or slightly arched. And then I'm just going to rock back in my hips as far as I comfortably can. So you can see I can get my bum basically to my heels and maintain my neutral back. And someone might need to help you with this and look at you or videotape you so you can see it yourself, because a lot of times we don't feel that we're rounding our back. But what will happen if you have some sort of an anterior impingement is when you come back, you'll get to a spot where you'll either feel stuck, like you just can't go any further, or you'll keep going, but your tail will tuck under a little bit. So you'll have to round your back to get into that position. And basically what's happening is something's getting blocked in the front of your pelvis. So in order to keep going, your pelvis has to tuck under. It's almost getting levered under with a wrench. So let's say you're here, you can sit all the way back and keep that nice neutral back position. That's good, you're clear. if you get to a point where it's like, well, and then I can't get any further without my backgrounding, well, then you can try widening your stance with your knees and then come back. Maybe that clears it up entirely, or maybe it lets you get a bunch more range of motion. Then you know, okay, well, when I'm doing squatting exercises or things like that, if I make my feet a little wider, I open up, I give my hips more space to move. So instead of trying to keep that narrow or hip width stance and, getting stuck or getting a butt wink at the bottom of your squatting motions, okay, if I take a little wider stance, it clears it up. I would still probably get it checked out just to see if there's anything you can do to reduce that. Again, it could be, a restriction in the labrum, your pelvis out of alignment, all these other things other than like a true FAI. And if that helps, then you might, or if it doesn't help, you might even try going a little bit wider and try one more time. We're not going to go crazy wide into the splits, but that's a little self-evaluation you can use just to see if something is sort of getting blocked at the front of your hip. And then really the best course of action is, not to email me and ask me what stretches you should do, but to get somebody to, get in there who has really good manual assessment skills to figure out why you're feeling that. And again, maybe it's something that they can fix with manual therapy or with stretches or with exercises. Maybe it is a bony, abnormality in a true FAI. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It's awesome that so now you can stop doing the things that just keep putting wear and tear on that part of the joint, that keep building up a bigger bony callus, like trying to do deep squats when you have an anterior impingement. And that's going to buy you a lot of time, because these impingements, for a lot of them, build up over time from overuse, and you don't realize you have it until you start getting pain and dysfunction. And by then, sometimes it's getting a little bit too late and you might need surgery to fix that. So not to scare you, but just to, hey, if you're having some impingement, figure out what it is and how to either improve it or work around it so you're not causing more and more long-term damage. See you.